In Chicago's icy heart, Mary Poppins' world unravels when her daughter Emma vanishes from a glittering mall. A chilling note points to betrayal by those she trusts most. As Mary battles lies and a cunning family scheme, a stranger's cryptic actions blur the line between savior and threat. Can she expose the truth and save Emma before it's too late? A pulse-pounding tale of justice and redemption unfolds. One misstep could shatter everything. There is one detail that only the attentive notice. Did you notice? Subscribe. It will help us make content that you will watch. Chicago's winter dawn painted the Lincoln Park skyline in icy hues, the wind slicing through Mary Poppins' coat as she stepped out of Chicago General Hospital. At 35, Mary was a hospital administrator whose sharp mind and steady hand kept the emergency department running like clockwork. Her hazel eyes, framed by fatigue, softened only when she thought of her daughter, Emma, the 12-year-old who was her world. A single mother, Mary had raised Emma alone since her ex, Richard Hayes, vanished years ago, leaving only broken promises. Now her phone buzzed with a text from Emma. "Mom, can we get hot chocolate after school? Love you." Mary smiled, typing back, "Deal, kiddo. Love you too." Her modest apartment, nestled above a cozy bookstore, was a sanctuary of warmth against the city's chill. As she unlocked the door, Emma bounded over, her auburn braid bouncing. "Mom, you're home! Guess what? I aced my science quiz!" Her green eyes sparkled, though a shadow of reserve lingered. Emma was bright but shy, still finding her place among peers. Mary hugged her, savoring the moment. "That's my genius. Hungry?" She headed to the kitchen, pulling out ingredients for pancakes, their Sunday ritual. But a knock interrupted them. Clara, Mary's cousin, swept in, her designer coat out of place in the cozy space. At 32, Clara was all ambition, her sharp cheekbones and polished smile masking a calculating edge. "Mary, darling, you look exhausted," she purred, setting down a coffee. "Emma, how's my favorite cousin?" Emma mumbled a reply, retreating to her homework. Mary forced a smile. Clara had been oddly attentive lately, visiting often with gifts and unsolicited advice. "Just a long shift," Mary said, brushing off the unease creeping up her spine. Clara's visits weren't the only change. Richard, Emma's father, had reappeared 2 months ago, claiming he'd turned his life around. A real estate broker with a disarming grin, he'd been charming Emma with arcade outings and promises of family time. Mary was wary. Richard's charm had burned her before, but Emma's hopeful smiles made her relent. "He's taking me to the mall tomorrow," Emma said, glancing up. "Is that okay?" Mary nodded, ignoring the knot in her gut. "Just stick with him, okay?" The next day, Mary's shift dragged, her mind on Emma. At 3 p.m., her phone rang. Clara's name flashed. "Mary, it's Emma." Clara's voice was tight. "She's gone. We were at the Lakeside Galleria and she just vanished." Mary's heart stopped. "What do you mean, vanished? She was with Richard." Clara hesitated. "He stepped away for a call, and I was grabbing coffee. We turned around and she was gone." Mary's vision blurred. "I'm coming. Call the police." The drive to the Galleria was a blur of honking horns and red lights. The mall, a gleaming maze of glass and chrome, buzzed with holiday shoppers. Mary found Clara and Richard near the food court, their faces pale. Richard's usual swagger was gone, his hands shaking. "Mary, I swear, I only left her for a minute," he stammered. Clara clutched her arm. "We've told security. They're searching." A security guard approached, holding a folded note. "Found this where your daughter was last seen." Mary unfolded it with trembling hands. In Emma's neat handwriting. "Mom, I'm scared. They lied to me." "Who lied?" Mary's voice cracked, her eyes darting between Clara and Richard. Clara's gaze flickered. She must be confused. Kids wander off. But Richard's silence screamed guilt. Mary's mind raced. Emma was cautious. not prone to running off. The guard radioed for police, and Mary's resolve hardened. Something was wrong, and it wasn't just Emma's disappearance. Clara's quick excuses, Richard's evasions. They were hiding something. As police arrived, Mary spotted a figure watching from the crowd, a man in a gray coat, his face half hidden. He met her gaze, then slipped away. Her pulse quickened. Was he involved, or just a bystander? Detective Elena Torres, a no-nonsense officer with sharp eyes, took charge. "Miss Poppins, we're reviewing footage. Tell me about Emma's day." Mary recounted the morning, mentioning Richard's outing and Clara's presence. Torres' brow furrowed. "We'll need statements from both of them." Hours ticked by, the mall's cheer mocking Mary's dread. Footage showed Emma at a toy store alone, looking anxious. Richard was nowhere near, and Clara was across the court, texting furiously. Then, Emma approached a bench where the gray-coated man sat. He spoke to her, and she followed him out an exit. Mary's stomach churned. "Who is he?" she demanded. Torres shook her head. "We're running facial recognition, but this wasn't random. That note suggests Emma knew something." Mary confronted Clara and Richard. "What did you do? Why did she write that?" Clara's composure cracked. "Mary, you're hysterical. She's just lost." Richard muttered, "We didn't lie." Maybe she misunderstood. But their eyes betrayed them. Fear, not grief. Mary's anger flared. "If you hurt her, I'll—" Torres cut in. "Miss Poppins, let us handle it. We're searching for the man and Emma." That night, Mary sat in her apartment, Emma's empty room a gaping wound. Her phone pinged, a text from an unknown number. "Emma is safe. Trust me. No name, no details." Mary's breath caught. Was this the man from the mall? A kidnapper or something else? She forwarded it to Torres, who replied, "Don't engage, we're tracing it." But sleep eluded Mary. The note, the man, Clara and Richard's lies, pieces of a puzzle she couldn't solve. Yet. At dawn, Laura Bennett, a journalist friend, called. "Mary, I heard about Emma. I'm digging into Richard's recent deals. Something's off. Shady investors, big money, and Clara's name popped up." Mary's blood ran cold. "What are they planning?" Laura's voice was grim. "I don't know yet, but I'll find out. Stay strong." As Mary hung up, a chilling realization hit. Emma's disappearance wasn't an accident. It was a move in a game she didn't yet understand. Chicago's morning skyline shimmered through a veil of frost, but Mary Poppins felt no warmth as she sat in her Lincoln Park apartment, clutching Emma's favorite scarf. The 35-year-old hospital administrator's mind churned with the previous day's horrors. Her 12-year-old daughter's disappearance from the Lakeside Galleria, the cryptic note in Emma's handwriting, and the unsettling text, "Emma is safe. Trust me." Mary's hazel eyes, red from sleeplessness, scanned the room for answers, landing on a photo of her and Emma laughing by Lake Michigan. She wouldn't lose her. Detective Elena Torres had promised updates, but the police were stretched thin, chasing leads on the gray-coated man from the mall footage. Mary's phone buzzed. Laura Bennett, the journalist, her voice urgent. "Mary, I found something. Richard's tied to a real estate deal with a shell company, and Clara's listed as a co-signer. It's linked to a trust fund in your name, your late father's estate. They're moving to liquidate it." Mary's breath caught. Her father's trust, meant for Emma's future, was worth millions. "Why now?" she asked. Laura hesitated. "I think they needed you out of the way. Emma's disappearance, it's leverage." Mary's heart pounded. Richard, her charming ex, and Clara, her ambitious cousin, weren't just betraying her, they were orchestrating a heist. Emma's note, "They lied to me," flashed in her mind. Had Emma overheard their plan? Mary grabbed her coat. "Laura, keep digging. I'm going to the police." But as she stepped outside, a sleek black car idled across the street. The driver, a woman with sunglasses, sped off when Mary looked her way. Paranoia or a real threat? She couldn't take chances. At the precinct, Torres was grim. We identified the man, Daniel Harper, 42, former social worker. No criminal record, but he dropped off the grid after a workplace scandal. We're raiding his last known address. Mary's hope flickered. Is Emma with him? Torres shook her head. We don't know. But the text you got came from a burner phone near his old apartment. Mary showed Torres Laura's findings about the trust fund. The detective's eyes narrowed. If Richard and Clara are involved, this changes everything. We'll pull their financials. Back home, Mary rifled through old letters, searching for clues about the trust. She found a document her father had left, naming her sole trustee unless proven unfit. A chill ran through her. Were Richard and Clara framing her as an unstable mother to seize control? Her phone rang. Clara, her voice syrupy. Mary, any news? I'm sick with worry. Mary's grip tightened. Cut the act, Clara. I know about the trust fund. Silence, then a sharp laugh. You're paranoid, Mary. Grief's making you see ghosts. But the tremor in Clara's voice betrayed her. Mary's next call was to a lawyer friend, Karen Walsh, who confirmed the trust's legal protections. If they're alleging neglect, they'd need evidence, Karen said. Courts don't strip guardianship lightly. Mary's mind raced to Emma's note. Had they manipulated her daughter into doubting her? She texted Laura, check if Clara or Richard filed complaints against me. Laura's reply came fast, on it. Found a social media post. Clara's hinting you're overwhelmed. Damage control? That afternoon, Mary visited the Galleria, retracing Emma's steps. The toy store clerk remembered Emma, saying she'd seemed upset, clutching a journal. She bought a pen, said it was for a letter, the clerk added. Mary's heart sank. Emma's note was deliberate, a cry for help. Near the exit, she spotted a discarded coffee cup with Clara's favorite lipstick shade. Had Clara been closer than she'd claimed? Mary bagged it, her nurse's precision kicking in. Evidence, not assumptions. At dusk, Torres called. Harper's apartment was empty, but we found Emma's backpack. Her journal's inside, detailing a fight she overheard between Richard and Clara about taking Mary down. She wrote she didn't trust them. Mary's blood boiled. They used her, she whispered. Torres continued. Harper left a note. She's not with them. I'll protect her. He's not acting like a typical kidnapper. Mary frowned. Then who is he? Torres sighed. We're digging into his past. Stay vigilant. That night, Mary's doorbell rang. Expecting Laura, she opened it to find a manila envelope, no sender. Inside, grainy photos showed Richard and Clara meeting a suited man in a downtown bar, passing documents. A typed note read, "They're not what they seem. Check the trust's fine print." Mary's pulse raced. Was this from Harper? An ally or a new player? She called Torres, who promised to trace the envelope. Laura's next call brought a bombshell. The suited man is Victor Klein, a lawyer known for shady estate disputes. Clara's been emailing him for weeks. Mary's world tilted. Clara and Richard weren't just after money. They were building a case to ruin her. But why involve Emma? A memory surfaced. Emma mentioning Richard asking odd questions about Mary's work hours, her stress. Had he been probing for weaknesses? Mary's resolve hardened. She'd expose them, but lawfully. She met Laura at a diner, handing over the envelope. Publish this, Mary urged. Let Chicago see their lies. Laura nodded. It's risky, but it'll force their hand. As Mary left the diner, her phone pinged. Another text from the unknown number. Emma's okay. Meet me tomorrow, midnight, Navy Pier. Alone. Her heart leapt. Was this Harper offering Emma's return, or a trap? She forwarded it to Torres, who warned, Don't go, we'll stake it out. But Mary couldn't sit idle. Emma was out there, scared, maybe hurt. She'd go, but not unprepared. Karen had mentioned a private investigator. Time to call in a favor. Midnight loomed, and Mary stood by Navy Pier's Ferris wheel, the wind biting her face. Shadows moved in the dark, and a figure emerged. Daniel Harper, his gray coat unmistakable. "Mary," he said softly, "Emma's safe. But you're in deeper than you know." Before she could speak, headlights flared, and a car screeched toward them. Harper bolted, and Mary dove behind a bench, heart pounding. Who was coming for them, and what did Harper know that could unravel everything? The Chicago night was a symphony of wind and distant sirens, as Mary Poppins crouched behind a bench on Navy Pier, her heart hammering. The screeching car's headlights had vanished, but the echo of Daniel Harper's words lingered. "You're in deeper than you know." The 35-year-old hospital administrator scanned the darkness, her breath fogging in the icy air. Harper, the gray-coated man who'd taken Emma, had fled before revealing more. Was he her daughter's protector or a pawn in a larger game? Mary's resolve burned. She'd find out, and she'd bring Emma home. She texted Detective Elena Torres. "Harper was here. Car chased him off. I'm okay." Torres replied instantly. "Get out of there. We're en route." Mary slipped away, her sneakers silent on the pier's planks, every shadow a potential threat. Back in her Lincoln Park apartment, she locked the door, her mind racing. Harper's cryptic warning, the photos of Richard and Clara with Victor Klein, the trust fund plot. It was a web of deceit, and Emma was caught in it. Mary clutched Emma's journal, found in Harper's apartment, its pages heavy with her daughter's fears. "Dad and Clara said Mom's too stressed to take care of me. I don't believe them, but I'm scared." Morning brought a call from Laura Bennett, the journalist. "Mary, I cross-checked Klein's emails. He's drafting a petition to deem you unfit as trustee, citing emotional instability. Clara's feeding him lies about your work mistakes." Mary's blood ran cold. A month ago, she'd misfiled a report during a chaotic shift. Clara had been at the hospital, visiting. Had she sabotaged Mary's records? "They're building a case," Mary said, voice tight. Laura's tone hardened. "I'm writing the exposé, but we need proof. I've got a source in Klein's office. Give me 24 hours. Mary's next stop was Karen Walsh, her lawyer friend at a bustling Loop Cafe. Karen's eyes widened at the photos and journal. "This is fraud," she said, sipping coffee. "If Clara and Richard forged complaints, we can file for a restraining order and sue for defamation, but we need Emma's testimony to seal it." Mary nodded, her determination steeling. "I'll find her. Harper knows where she is." Karen frowned. "Be careful. If he's unstable, he could be dangerous." Mary didn't argue, but Harper's actions, leaving Emma's backpack, sending texts, felt more desperate than malicious. At the precinct, Torres shared a breakthrough. Harper's scandal 5 years ago, he was fired after accusing a colleague of neglecting foster kids. The colleague, Victor Klein, then a social services lawyer. Mary's jaw dropped. Klein's tied to Richard and Clara now. Is Harper targeting them? Torres shrugged. Maybe revenge, maybe redemption. His old co-workers say he was obsessive about protecting kids. Mary's mind spun. Harper's motives were murky, but he was her only link to Emma. That afternoon, Mary visited the hospital, where her colleague Susan flagged her down. "Mary, Clara was here yesterday, asking about your shifts. Said she's worried about you." Susan's eyes narrowed. "I didn't buy it." Mary's fists clenched. Clara was planting seeds, painting her as erratic. She thanked Susan and checked her work files. Sure enough, 2 more errors had been logged under her name, dated when Clara visited. "She's framing me," Mary muttered, downloading the logs as evidence. Laura's next call brought a jolt. "My source leaked Klein's petition. It claims you neglected Emma, backed by a forged CPS report. Richard's signature's on it. Mary's vision blurred with rage. Richard, Emma's father, betraying his own daughter for money. "Can we stop it?" she asked. Laura's voice was fierce. "My article drops tomorrow naming Klein, Clara, and Richard. It'll blow their plan open, but they'll fight dirty. Watch your back." That evening, Mary found another envelope slipped under her door, a USB drive with a note. Proof of their lies. D.H. Her pulse raced. Daniel Harper again. The drive held audio files. Clara and Richard plotting in a hushed call. Clara's voice dripped venom. "Once Mary's out, the trust's ours. Emma's just collateral." Richard sounded uneasy. "What if she talks?" Clara laughed. "She's 12. Who'll believe her?" Mary's hands shook. This was the smoking gun, but using it meant trusting Harper, a man she barely understood. She met Torres at a discreet diner, handing over the USB. "Harper's helping me, but why?" Torres listened to the audio, her face grim. "He's playing vigilante. We traced his burner to a Southside motel. We're moving in tonight." Mary's heart leapt. "Is Emma there?" Torres hesitated. "We hope so. Stay here, Mary. Let us handle it." But as Torres left, Mary's phone buzzed. A new text. "They're coming for me. Emma's at Grace House. Hurry." Grace House, a women's shelter in Englewood, was miles away. Harper's plea felt like a trap, but Emma's safety was all that mattered. Mary grabbed her coat, calling Karen for backup. "I'm going to Grace House. Tell Torres." Karen protested, but Mary was already out the door. The L train rattled through Chicago's neon-lit night, each stop agonizingly slow. Englewood's streets were quiet, the shelter a nondescript building with a flickering sign. Mary knocked, her breath visible in the cold. A wary volunteer opened the door. "I'm looking for my daughter, Emma Poppins," Mary said, showing a photo. The volunteer's eyes widened. "She's here, but a man brought her. Said she was in danger." Mary's knees buckled. "Where is she?" The volunteer led her inside, where Emma sat in a small room, clutching a book, her green eyes wide with relief. "Mom!" she cried, running into Mary's arms. Mary held her tight, tears streaming. "Are you okay? Did he hurt you?" Emma shook her head. "Daniel was nice. He said you were in trouble, that Dad and Clara lied." Mary's heart ached. Emma knew too much, yet her courage shone. But the reunion was cut short. The volunteer whispered, "The man, Daniel, left an hour ago. Said someone's after him." Mary's phone vibrated. Torres. "Harper's motel raided. He's gone. Where are you?" Before she could respond, the shelter's lights flickered, and a loud bang echoed outside. Emma clung to Mary, terrified. "Mom, what's that?" Mary's instincts screamed danger. Was it Klein's hired muscle or Richard and Clara closing in? She grabbed Emma's hand, whispering, "We're leaving. Now." But as they reached the door, a shadow loomed, a figure with a familiar, chilling silhouette. The flickering lights of Grace House cast eerie shadows as Mary Poppins gripped Emma's hand, her pulse racing. The bang outside the Chicago shelter reverberated in her chest, and the looming figure at the door sent a chill down her spine. The 35-year-old hospital administrator shielded her 12-year-old daughter, her hazel eyes scanning for an escape. "Stay behind me, Emma," she whispered, her voice steady despite the fear. The volunteer, wide-eyed, pointed to a back exit. "Go, now!" But the door creaked open, revealing not a stranger, but Richard Hayes, Emma's father, his face a mask of desperation. "Mary, wait!" Richard's voice cracked, his suit rumpled, eyes bloodshot. "I need to explain." Mary's anger flared, her body a barrier between him and Emma. "Explain? You and Clara used my daughter to steal from me." Emma clung to Mary, trembling. Richard raised his hands, pleading. "I messed up, but I didn't want this. Clara pushed me. Said we'd lose everything if we didn't act. I never meant for Emma to get hurt." His words rang hollow, and Mary's mind flashed to Emma's journal. Dad said Mom's too stressed. I don't trust him. Before Mary could respond, sirens wailed and red-blue lights flooded the street. Detective Elena Torres burst in, 2 officers flanking her. "Richard Hayes, you're under arrest for fraud and child endangerment," Torres barked, cuffs snapping on his wrists. Richard's shoulders slumped, but he looked at Emma, eyes wet. "I'm sorry, kid." Emma turned away, burying her face in Mary's coat. Mary's heart twisted. Anger at Richard's betrayal warred with pity for his brokenness, but Emma's safety came first. Torres ushered Mary and Emma to a squad car, the shelter now swarming with police. "We got your text about Grace House," Torres said. "Harper's in the wind, but Emma's statement will help us nail Clara and Klein." Emma, clutching her book, spoke softly. "Daniel said he knew Dad from a long time ago. He wanted to stop him." Mary frowned. "Knew him how?" Torres's eyes narrowed. "We're digging. Harper's not just a random do-gooder. His past with Klein and Richard is personal." At the precinct, Emma recounted her ordeal over hot chocolate, her voice steady despite the trauma. "Clara and Dad took me to the mall, but they left me by the toy store. Clara said it was a game, but I heard them arguing about money and Mom. I wrote the note because I was scared." Mary stroked her daughter's hair, pride swelling. Emma's courage had saved her. "Then Daniel found me," Emma continued. "He said he'd keep me safe, that Clara and Dad were lying about Mom. He took me to the shelter but wouldn't let me call you. Said it wasn't safe yet." Torres took notes, her expression grim. "Harper's actions saved Emma, but he's still a fugitive. We found his journal at the motel. Mentions a debt Richard owed him from 15 years ago." Mary's mind raced. "A debt?" She pressed Emma gently. "Did Daniel say anything else about Dad?" Emma nodded. "He said Dad ruined his life once, but he wouldn't let it happen to me." Mary's gut twisted. Richard's past was a Pandora's box, and Harper held the key. Laura Bennett arrived, her laptop open. "Mary, the article's live. Chicago Tribune's front page. Real estate scam targets single mom. Klein's petition is exposed, and Clara's CPS forgery is public." Mary exhaled, relief mingling with dread. "Will it stop them?" Laura's eyes gleamed. "Klein's law firm dropped him, and Clara's social media is a war zone. They're cornered." But Mary knew Clara. Cornered meant dangerous. She called Karen Walsh, her lawyer, who filed an emergency restraining order against Clara and a fraud suit against Klein. That night, Mary and Emma stayed at Karen's downtown condo, a temporary haven. Emma slept, her face peaceful, but Mary couldn't rest. She replayed Harper's journal entries, shared by Torres. "Richard betrayed me in 2008. Left me to take the fall. Now he's hurting his own kid." The fall was vague. Torres was chasing records, but it hinted at a shared history, maybe a crime. Mary's phone pinged, a voicemail from an unknown number. Harper's voice, low and urgent. "Mary, check Richard's old storage unit, West Side." Keys with Emma. "It's the truth." Then static. Mary woke Emma gently. "Sweetie, did Daniel give you anything?" Emma rummaged in her book, pulling out a small key taped inside. "He said it was important." Mary's pulse quickened. She called Torres, who met them at a gritty West Side storage facility at dawn. The unit, under Richard's name, was a time capsule of dust and secrets. Inside, Mary found files, bank records from 2008, detailing a real estate scam. Richard and Harper's names were on a deal that tanked, leaving investors broke. A police report pinned it on Harper, who lost his career. Richard walked free. Torres whistled. "This is why Harper's after him. Richard framed him." Mary's anger surged. Richard's lies had destroyed lives, now threatening Emma's. But another file caught her eye. A photo of young Richard, Harper, and Clara, laughing at a bar. Clara was in on it too, Mary realized. The trio's past bound them, and Emma's disappearance was their latest con. Torres bagged the evidence. "This ties Klein to the old scam. We've got enough for warrants." But Clara was one step ahead. Laura called, frantic. "Mary, Clara's at your apartment. My source saw her break in." Mary's blood ran cold. Clara was hunting the USB drive Harper sent, the audio of her plot. Torres dispatched a unit, but Mary couldn't wait. She left Emma with Karen and raced to Lincoln Park, Torres trailing. Inside her apartment, Clara stood, rifling Mary's desk, the USB in hand. "You're too late," Clara sneered, but Mary's voice was ice. "It's over, Clara. The police are here." Clara lunged for the door, but Torres blocked her, cuffs ready. "Clara Evans, you're under arrest." Clara's defiance crumbled as officers led her away, the USB secured. Mary sank onto the couch, the weight of betrayal heavy. But Emma was safe, and the truth was out. Torres lingered. "Harper's still out there. Any idea where he'd go?" Mary shook her head, but Harper's voicemail echoed the truth. He'd risked everything to expose Richard and Clara. Was he a hero or a ghost of vengeance? As Mary returned to Karen's, a news alert flashed. Klein's arrest, charged with fraud. Laura's article had sparked a citywide outcry, and Chicago's legal system was closing in. But one question burned. Where was Harper, and what was his endgame? Emma's voice broke Mary's thoughts. "Mom, will Daniel be okay?" Mary hugged her, unsure. "He helped us, but he broke the law. We'll see." Deep down, she sensed Harper wasn't done, and neither was the shadow of Richard's past. Chicago's spring sun broke through the clouds, casting a golden glow over Lincoln Park as Mary Poppins stood in her apartment, packing the last of Emma's books. The past 3 months had been a whirlwind, but the 35-year-old hospital administrator felt a quiet strength. Her 12-year-old daughter, Emma, hummed in the next room, her resilience a beacon after their ordeal. Mary's fight for justice had exposed a web of betrayal, and now, with Clara, Richard, and Victor Klein facing the consequences, she and Emma were ready for a fresh start. The Lakeside Galleria incident felt like a lifetime ago. Clara's arrest in Mary's apartment, clutching the incriminating USB, had sealed her fate. Richard, detained at Grace House, had confessed to fraud and child endangerment, his charm no match for the evidence from his old storage unit. Victor Klein, the shady lawyer, crumbled under Laura Bennett's exposé, his firm disowning him as fraud charges piled up. Chicago's legal system moved swiftly, and Mary's lawyer, Karen Walsh, ensured the trust fund, her father's legacy for Emma, remained secure. Mary's lawful battle had been relentless. With Laura's article sparking public outrage, Mary filed defamation and fraud suits against Clara and Klein, backed by Emma's journal, the USB audio, and the 2008 scam records. A judge issued permanent restraining orders against Clara and Richard, barring them from contacting Mary or Emma. Clara, once a socialite, faced jail time and public scorn, her online presence reduced to apologies no one believed. Richard, stripped of his real estate license, awaited sentencing, his letters to Emma unanswered. Klein's disbarment was the final nail in their scheme's coffin. Daniel Harper, the enigmatic former social worker, remained a ghost. His journal and voicemails had guided Mary to the truth, but his motives were rooted in a 2008 betrayal. Torres uncovered the full story. Richard, Clara, and Harper had been partners in a real estate deal that defrauded investors. When it collapsed, Richard pinned the blame on Harper, who lost his career and reputation. Seeing Richard target Emma years later, Harper acted, taking her to safety but breaking the law. "He's a fugitive, but his actions saved Emma," Torres admitted. Mary couldn't forgive his methods, but she understood his pain. Emma's recovery was Mary's greatest triumph. Weekly counseling sessions helped her process the betrayal, and her courage shone in court, where her testimony about Clara and Richard's mall deception swayed the judge. "I knew Mom would find me," Emma had said, her green eyes fierce. Now, back at school, she thrived, her shy smile returning. Mary, too, had healed, her hospital colleagues rallying around her. Susan, her co-worker, organized a fundraiser for Emma's college fund, a gesture that left Mary teary-eyed. One morning, a letter arrived, no return address, postmarked from Wisconsin. Mary's heart skipped. It was Harper's handwriting. "Ms. Poppins, I hope Emma's smiling again. I'm starting over helping kids in a small town. Tell Emma she reminded me of second chances." DH enclosed was a photo of a community center, kids painting murals. Mary showed it to Emma, who nodded. "He wasn't bad, Mom, just hurt." Mary agreed, tucking the letter away. Harper's fate was his own, but his choice to protect Emma had tipped the scales toward redemption. Clara and Richard's lives unraveled. Clara, awaiting trial, lost her social circle, her designer facade crumbling. Local news reported her volunteering at a shelter, a forced humility under court order. Richard, in counseling, wrote to Mary once begging forgiveness. She didn't reply. His actions had severed their bond, but she wished him healing for Emma's sake. Klein, disgraced, faded from Chicago's legal scene, his schemes a cautionary tale. Mary and Emma's new chapter began in a cozy Wicker Park townhouse closer to Emma's school. The trust fund, now untouchable, secured Emma's future, but their real wealth was their bond. One Sunday, they strolled along Lake Michigan, sharing deep dish pizza. Emma, her braid bouncing, asked, "Mom, are we a good family? Just us?" Mary hugged her, the lake's waves a soothing backdrop. "The best, kiddo. Families who loves you, no matter what." Emma grinned, tossing a pebble into the water. Laura visited that evening, her next article on Chicago's trust fund scams already trending. "You're a hero, Mary," she said. Mary laughed. "Just a mom." But her lawful fight had inspired others, with community groups citing her case to push for tighter estate laws. Karen, now a close friend, joined them, toasting to resilience. "To new beginnings," she said, clinking glasses. Mary smiled, her heart full. She'd faced injustice and won, not with vengeance, but with truth. As night fell, Mary tucked Emma in, her room aglow with fairy lights. "Mom, what's next?" Emma murmured, sleepy. Mary kissed her forehead. "Whatever comes, we'll face it together." Outside, Chicago's skyline twinkled, a city of grit and hope. Mary opened her journal, penning a final thought. "Life breaks you, but love rebuilds you. Emma and I are proof." She closed the book, the moonlight soft. Tomorrow was theirs, and no shadow could dim their light.